Good evening. My name is Kariem Dame. Welcome to The Spot. Got my co-host Damian Ware.
What's up, everybody?
Dame, 2023. We right at the edge. We about to stick a fork in it. Big year. A lot of stuff going on.
Big year.
Big year. I think it was a big year. A lot of stuff going on. We want to take this episode, really kind of go over some of the key stories. Mm-hmm. You know, we this has been a good year for The Spot.
A lot, yeah.
We got a lot of content in this year, so I think that. But with us getting started at the time that we didn't get to cover a lot of stuff. We just kind of put a bow tie on some of the stories that we dealt with, and then kind of grab a couple of stories that we didn't get a chance to
touch on.
So let's go ahead and get started with it. First story out the box, I think when 2022 was ending, going into 2023, your boy Vladimir Putin had just ran up in Ukraine. In
invasion.
Serious invasion. And I think most people kind of felt like, okay, so what? This ain't got nothing to do with us.
Right.
What's your take?
I mean, typically, I think, coming out of when we came out of the Trump doctrine,
right?
We was on America First. It kind of, at that point in time, you did kind of get a little perspective to where you say, wait a minute, we do find ourselves meddling in a lot of stuff that really ain't got nothing to do with American interests, really ain't got nothing to do with us.
Okay.
And so you often go back into history and you look at situations and scenarios that we was in, like Vietnam or whatever have you, in the history where we probably shouldn't have been involved in these conflicts. And so here we go again with the Russia-Ukraine deal, whereas you start, if you know any history on it, with the Cold War and the Soviet Union as it was, with Ukraine and all of these small nations that was a part of the Soviet Union, you say, what do that got to do with us,
Well, right when it started, well, if you remember back when your boy 45 was president, actually before he got elected, this was coming out of Barack Obama going into 45. The narrative was Vladimir Putin, former KGB intelligence officer, he's too smart for 45. He gonna run circles around him. And he was gonna basically have him wrapped around his pinky finger. We was gonna be in trouble if Trump got up in there. We ended up getting through 4 years of 45, no conflict.
Right.
Here come your boy Joe. And then here the conflict come right behind it. So just getting into a lot of some of the information before, like historically, because, we dealt with that last episode we did talking about colonialism and it was kind of the same thing. It kind of goes around the same ideas. I don't think that a lot of people know the history behind Ukraine and how they got their independence and what they was before that.
Right.
But I think it was 1917. Well, 18th, 19th century, Ukraine was part of Russia. The Russian Empire was what they called it. So Russia was going around colonizing folks, and Ukraine fell up under that umbrella.
Right.
So there was a period where the USSR, Russia fought for independence, right? I mean, Ukraine fought for their independence. They gained their independence, but I think it was only like 2 years that they kind of lived in that independence, or they got their sovereignty, and then they was taken over by the USSR.
Right.
USSR, they engulfed Russia, all of that. It was just, and that's all we remember.
Yeah.
You know, the Rocky Balboa movie, Ivan Drago, you know what I'm saying, USSR, and then all of a sudden, one day the USSR was gone.
Right. And then we got the Cold War.
We got the Cold War, slipped into the Cold War, and at that point, they basically dissolved, and those small countries start getting their independence back.
Right.
You had NATO, which was all of the United States, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands, Italy,
Western Europe.
France, Luxembourg, all of those in that area there, they joined NATO. And
Right.
so the idea was if you was if you was a capitalist democracy, you was going to join NATO.
Right.
If you was a communist country, you basically was going, they called it what was it? I got it in my notes. It was called the Warsaw Pact Alliance. All of those was the Russia,
Wasn't that Poland,
the
Balkans?
the Balkans.
Yeah.
Yep. All of those areas came up under the Warsaw Pact.
Right.
And they kind of put up like two military fronts, and they was like, okay, we're going to keep these from invading here. We're going to keep these. That's what kind of kept everybody honest. Kind of kept everybody honest. So the idea is once they start dissolving that, Russia became independent again. And it's kind of like with the South
And the North.
in the North, in the
Right.
United States. They have a term, it's called Russian irredentism. They say it's a fancy term for wanting previously held land back. That's what what happened in the United States with the North and the South.
Right.
The South seceded the Union, and the North said, no, we want that back. Y'all can't leave. We're about to invade y'all.
Right.
And then, now, so the question is, what's the difference between what the South did, what the North did with the South
And what
in
Russia-
the Civil War, and what Russia is doing with Ukraine? What's the difference?
There is no real difference. That's what I'm saying. That's what I see. Because at one point in time, when you moved from the USSR, when they moved to the Soviet Union,
Right,
and you had all of those states, like we got here,
right,
was a part of what used to be the Russian Empire, the
Right.
Tsars or whatever have
Yeah.
you, and Ukraine. You had Croatia, you had all these different places that was a part of that empire. So there's really no difference. And then you got your boy Putin. That's why he on record saying, "We will not give up what is ours."
He wants to reestablish the borders that was present when the USSR
Right.
was active.
That's before he was assaulted by NATO.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way they interpret
Yeah.
it. That's the story that he telling. That's the story, and he's sticking to it.
I mean, that's the story. That looked like the story to me.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because you really don't know, why is America so invested in Ukraine?
Wow. Now you got experts that say they view this war and the fate of what happens in Ukraine as a very pivotal event for decades to come. They say that this is very, very important that the West and the U.S. and NATO do not allow Putin to win this war and fully invade and take over Ukraine.
So what is it that we stand to lose with Putin gaining that type of, regaining
Right.
that territory back? What is it that we stand to lose?
From my understanding, what I was seeing, basically you had interests, you had natural resources, gas, wheat, grain. You had a lot of economy that, could be lost and Russia could gain and become more powerful as an empire. But then also in the eyes of what I understand from Russia and Putin and his people, there's a very distinct terrain in that area where Ukraine is kind of like the front porch of Russia.
It is.
And they say the way that the terrain is built, if NATO or the West is to gain that, then they got an easy strategic, point.
They have an advantage.
They got an advantage militarily.
Okay.
That Russia don't want them to have. And yeah.
So is the United States, are we okay with, we don't need it as long as you don't have it? Or do we have eyes on, because it seems like I get the impression that the United States is kind of like we do with Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. Where there's some things going on in Ukraine that we don't own, but we control.
Right.
Just like we do Guantanamo Bay in Cuba.
Right.
If it's when we was chasing all of those terrorists and they had the deck of cards and this dude was the ace of spades and this dude was the queen, everybody had a card.
Yeah.
When those cats would get caught, we wouldn't keep them in prison in the United States. We would send them to Guantanamo Bay. It was a way to where we could do things to them that was illegal based on the Geneva Convention and war crimes, but we can send them down there. We can have it done to them, but not be the ones.
Right.
It's like having a cat's paw, where you get the work done without having to put your hands on it. And to me, it's like it's some things going on in Ukraine, particularly as it relates to weapons of war.
Right.
We might have an interest in the development of nuclear weapons in Ukraine, that we don't control it, nor we don't own it. We ain't got our hands on it, but we control it.
We control it.
And it seems to me that Putin is like, okay, y'all don't got nothing to do with that over there. Okay, so y'all don't mind me going to go take it, do you? Ooh. If you didn't have nothing to do with it, why are you so interested?
Right.
Why is it so, So that's the thing with me. I'm really interested to see. To pull back the curtain, I would love to be a fly on the wall with your boy Sleepy Joe in one of his meetings where they really talking about the strategy behind because we supplying them with weapons. There's no way they could compete in that war without the assistance of the United States.
Now let me ask you though, so why is it that this was not important during the Trump years, but it was something that was going on, the relationship? There was a lot of news headlines. There was a strong relationship during the Obama years, and now it's reconnected and continuing in the Biden years. What's the significance of that?
No, ask that one more time.
So why, if there's an interest that is beneficial to the U.S.,
right?
Why was that interest not important during the Trump years? What's going on as to why it's so important during
that's what I thought the question was. I'll answer it like this. In my opinion, in two totally different ways, Barack in 45, they lightweight geniuses.
Okay.
They super smart, and they know how to play their hand. They know how to play their cards with these other leaders. Joe, not so much. So with Barack, people looked at him, it was almost like touching a porcupine. Like, oh, he looks really, whoa, wait.
Yeah.
Barack comes off, he's smiling.
Right.
He got the little, he's loving on everybody.
Right.
He seemed like your dude. He playing
coolest
basketball,
cat out here.
cool. Come on over, have a couple of beers back on the on the lawn. But if you cross him, he'll prick you. And so a lot of people didn't really want to fool with Barack because they couldn't tell, is he young, naive, and inexperienced? But then the things that he's doing, I'm getting stuck. Every time I try to take advantage of him, I'm getting stuck. So let me just leave this dude alone.
They falling for the poker face?
Yeah. Your boy 45 comes in. Is he crazy or is he not?
Yeah.
He looks dumb.
Yeah.
His suit coats is too big. You see what I'm saying? It's like his tie is too long. He looks like something. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know how it is when you see a cat in a suit coat too big. You don't really trust him. You feel like you can take advantage of him, right? You feel like you can take advantage of him. So it's like, but then Trump will reel you in. It's like, you know, shaking cats' hands. You see he lightweight bully.
Yeah.
He's squeezing people's hands. They hands all red. They trying to keep
tough.
a straight face. Tough guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Old school. It reminds me, Barack and 45. They remind me of that that movie with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman when they was on the submarine.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't Crimson Tide, was it?
No,
It wasn't Crimson Tide. Can't remember.
I'm gonna have to go
We'll put
back.
the name of it down here, but it was like you got the old school cat who's used to doing things the old way, and then the new Harvard grad cat that's got all of the technology and.
Speaking of horses, did you ever see those Lippinzahner stallions?
What?
From Portugal. The Lippinzahner stallions. Most highly trained horses in the world. They're all white.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You're aware they're all white, or yes, sir? You've seen them?
Yes, sir, I've seen them. Yes, sir, I'm aware that they're all white. They're not from Portugal, they're from Spain. And at birth, they're not white. They're black. Sir.
I didn't know that. But they are from Portugal.
You know, but Joe, he don't really fit into neither one of those boxes. And I think that people, you know, Joe is just that cat that you keep at the family reunion. He over there keeps everybody entertained. He tells jokes. He's got, you know, he's just like, I don't want to call him a jester, but
He almost is. I mean,
he's not really anything that somebody takes seriously. So Putin, under his watch, I'm not scared of Joe.
nah.
I'm going in.
No, yeah.
I'm going
calling
in.
his bluff.
I'm calling his
And
bluff.
even your boy Zelensky, what's up with your boy Zelensky? Like, listen how he talking in the news right now. He using strong words, talking about that he's confident that the U.S. will not betray Ukraine.
See, that language right there is trying to, okay, I'm gonna put it out here before the world so that if you go back, because what he's looking at is a situation to where the United States is being distracted. He's trying to talk to the United States. Yo, I need this, I need that. Can you send us some more of this, that, and the other? Meanwhile, we looking over here, looking at Israel. We got our eyes on Israel. And he like, yo, hey, I'm trying to talk to y'all. We need this right here. He can tell that our attention is being pulled more and more into the Middle East with Israel. And he's trying to do what he can in order to be able to get our attention back. So he got to make that play.
He do.
And hope that it worked. Because without the United States and the assistance of the United States,
It's over with.
He's done. It's
Yeah.
over with. Which really falls right into Putin's hands because it's to Putin's advantage to intensify and exacerbate tensions in the Middle East so that the United States will
Turn their attention
over there. That way he can get his feet.
Yeah, because without
up
the
under.
U.S. and the allies, Ukraine is smoked.
All right. Enough on that. Let's move on, man. We had a big story back in the summer. Wake up in the morning, come out the house, and it was smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
All across, I know here in the state of Ohio, all across Akron, all across the state of Ohio. They said it was fires burning in Canada, forest fires in Canada, and the air quality was all messed up.
Right.
You remember that?
I do.
What was your take on that?
It was strange because you come outside and the sky is orange.
Mm-hmm.
That heavy smog. People was even talking about they could smell the smoke.
Yeah.
So, you know,
You can almost taste it.
you could almost taste it.
Yeah.
Being a resident of Ohio, born and raised, living in Ohio your whole life, that was weird. It was like we didn't know anything about that versus people that's from
LA.
out west.
Yeah.
And then it was crazy because I was working with somebody and a young lady was from California.
Okay.
And she was like, you know, I don't know what the big deal is. Everybody tripping. She said, this is normal for us. She said, I done seen the smog where you come outside from the California wildfires and it's films over top of your cars and everything
Like
else.
soot or something?
Yeah, she wasn't rattled. She said people from California wouldn't be rattled by that. And so I was like, man, I said, well, in Ohio, we ain't used to this.
Not at all. I'm talking about, we was thinking, it was people thinking that the world was going to end. Everybody was going to go rent the Left Behind series and all kinds of stuff. It was like people was losing their minds.
I mean, out of all your years of living here, what did you think when you came outside? You seen
I knew something
orange?
was wrong. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. So, and the thing is, at the time, nobody had an answer. And it didn't really make sense because, you know, Canada is a long way away. For that air to be this thick all the way down this way, you know, we a grip away from Canada. For it to be that distinct and that thick all the way down here into Ohio, nobody really believed, I don't think, that it was what they're talking about. Even with, they're talking about they say it's two distinct types. First of all, smog, that's what they was calling it, smog. And smog is a term derived for two words, smoke and fog.
Okay.
See, that didn't make sense to me because fog is usually dewy. It's got to be some moisture in the air in order for that fog. But this was all day long. It was all day long. So it was just weird. They say it was two. Smog is a combination of smoke and fog. It's commonly used to describe automotive or industrial smoke over big cities, inner cities, and that type of thing. So they say it's two distinct types of smog: sulfurous smog and photochemical smog. Now, photochemical smog, that's also known as what they call Los Angeles smog.
Okay.
And this occurs most prominently in urban areas that have large numbers of automobiles. It requires neither smoke nor fog in order for that to exist. It's almost like that's just what people are trying to get when they say, okay, we're going to electric vehicles and that type of thing. This is what they're trying to get rid of. Is that photochemical smog.
Now, what's your take on that? With the we talking about the green movement versus you got cats that still, like even your boy Trump, wanna keep the fossil fuels, the coal mining. How did that come into play with what we're seeing as far as air pollution?
The interesting thing is going to be in 2024 whether Trump still is on that, because there's a heavy swing even across the Republican Party for them to start to come to grips with the idea of it's just a matter of making it more affordable. You know, it used to be to where the big take on or the big thing against like the electric cars and all of that, it had more to do with the fact that people didn't feel like they could get the mileage, they didn't feel like they can get the speed, the torque. People that had, that's used to gasoline in cars, that was the only thing that was keeping you.
Right.
But the question is, okay, if you can get it to where, it's one thing when you start making it more affordable and making it to where people can, I talked to a guy, he was saying that his people had bought an electric car and they drove from Los Angeles to Akron on $18.
Wow, that's huge. From the West Coast to the East Coast,
$18.
$18.
So that could change some people's minds.
That's a game changer.
Then they have what they call, that was photochemical smog, and then they had the other one was called sulfurous smog, which is also known as London fog. It results from a high concentration of sulfur oxides in the air and is caused by the use of sulfur-bearing fossil fuels, particularly coal. So that's where your boy 45, he's gonna have a hard time if you got a whole system of cities in the United States that are coal-based cities. You go into Youngstown, you go into Pennsylvania, you go into those areas where, you go get up into West Virginia. They're gonna have some problems up there trying to sell that to people in the face of clean energy.
Clean energy, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. That was a huge story just because I think that it just shocked people.
Right.
It was something that people wasn't used to. And it's going to be interesting because the story just kind of fell out the headlines. It
Right.
They never really bought a resolution for it. It just disappeared. So I'm really wondering and keeping my eye open to see what happens with that and what they do with it.
And then the phones, you know, with the technology of the smartphone, when you go to that weather page and it gives you that air quality, you know, people was kind of,
they making it, they putting it present of mind.
Yeah.
Like they bringing it to the forefront to where, okay, now you have a way to measure it. It makes you think this is something that's going to be here.
It's serious, yeah.
It's serious and it's going to be here. So, yeah, that's interesting. Next topic, what we got? In-season tournament, NBA, in-season tournament. Where did this come from?
I don't know.
Because you know all the LeBron James fans got something else to put. Jordan never won a in-season tournament.
Well, he never had one. You know, back then you wasn't. If you asked Mike, do you want to win the NBA Cup? Well, come on, man. Mike ain't going for that.
What is it though? I don't even know
They
what
just
it
made
is.
that up. I mean, you know, Bron said your boy Adam Silver was brilliant for coming up with the in-season tournament. But how did we get to this point in the NBA to where we had to have a tournament at the beginning of the season that gave you a championship trophy and a banner to put in the rafters, and it's not the Larry O'Brien, and it's not the World Championship? Where did this come from? Why? Why at this point in time did we need to have this?
I don't know, man. It's like you have to do something in order to be able to keep. The money is not a big enough motivator to keep these cats engaged.
The money?
I know.
What is it?
I think that international basketball, especially overseas, is becoming so much more sophisticated that the sport of basketball is gaining popularity in other countries, whereas basketball, as far as professional basketball, used to just be like the North American market is the strongest market.
Right.
So when you look at professional sports markets in other countries, it's dominated by soccer. Soccer has in-season cups.
I knew I knew that's where he was going.
That in order to appeal to an international audience.
Yeah, I knew that's where he was going. I agree with him on that, and I think that's why Bron said Adam Silver was brilliant.
Well, Bron knows about that because he owns the soccer team.
Yeah. And so Bron has something to do with this. I mean, we know that's what Bron has something to do with this, man.
Wow.
I mean, if it's gonna make money, if it's gonna be cutting edge, and it's dealing with the business of sport, the business of basketball. I mean, Bron James, let's give him his credit on that. He one of the brightest minds to ever come around as an athlete to be able to blend business and the sport that he playing together and also bring, create trends. So, Bron has something to do with that, man.
Okay, that's where we at. Okay, so now how do you look at that in relation to the big three, though?
From what I was seeing in regards to the big three, because I had to do a little bit of research on that.
Okay.
And so the big three basically is growing, is gaining momentum. Even though it's in the summer, it's done overshadowed the NBA Summer League for one.
Right.
They talked about that. Cube and his boy, I guess it's Jeff Quatinez or whatever, these cats that's the founders. They say from 2013 to 2022, the combined profits at the big three are up 92% and an accumulated $250 billion in total.
$250 billion.
$250 billion in
Cube
total.
on every team. Did this sound familiar? I still
What
say
you
it
would
sounds
say?
familiar with
To
your
what?
boy with the CBA with Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas, he purchased the Continental Basketball Association for $10 million in 1999, and the NBA did everything that they could to undermine that league.
Ooh.
Isaiah owned every team,
Wow.
and he would partner with different people, just like Cube is about to go public and start. That's where he's getting the resistance.
Yeah.
Because he's about to go public and allow NBA teams, owners, to purchase Big Three teams.
Wow.
So what he'll do is he's not selling 100% of the team. This is just what Isaiah Thomas did. He would come to you. You might be George Gervin. You might be Dr. J. You might be Patrick Ewing. And he might come to you and say, look, you want some interest in a team? I'll sell you 60%.
Right.
I'll sell you 55% of this team. You'll be the front, you'll be the owner, I'll be the minority stakeholder, and we're gonna run the league. You get enough people doing that, now you can, and the format is totally different from the NBA.
Right.
So what they're doing and what they did with Isaiah, I took some notes on Isaiah. They said, during Isaiah Thomas's tenure of owning the CBA, the budget for the CBA league office reportedly doubled. So when you say Cube increased his
Right.
by what, 92%, you said?
92%.
That's almost doubling. He's right about at this same spot where Isaiah started catching hell. It said when Isaiah Thomas became head coach of the Indiana Pacers in 2000, he was required by NBA rules to sell the CBA. The NBA offered to buy the league. Now, on one hand, you say, we don't want you to have nothing to do with it because it's a quote unquote competing league.
Right.
On the other hand, the NBA offered to buy the league from Thomas.
Wow.
So we don't want it. We don't want you to be involved in it. We want you to sell it to us. Well, Isaiah declined. All right. The NBA then started its own minor league, depriving the CBA of its lifeblood. They used to give it a $2 million annual payment the NBA used to give to the CBA because they used the CBA as a developmental league.
Right.
So they gave them $2 million annually as a developmental league. They took that money from him, and then they said, we're going to categorize you as a competing league. And so nobody that's in the league, no owners of the league, and even somebody who potentially wants to own a team in the league, it's a conflict of interest for them to be involved with you.
So that's why your boy Cube out front right now saying he is getting little to no support from the NBA.
And the thing
Regards to
is,
Big
it's
Three.
not even about you giving us any revenue. Just stop hating.
Right.
Because what they're doing is they're saying, like he said, they'll be on the phone in the 11th hour, get ready to close a deal with somebody, and they'll call him in the 11th hour and say, man, we can't really do this deal yet. We got some fine-tuned things that we need to work out with the NBA. We can't afford to lose our contract with the NBA. They threatening taking our contract.
Right.
So you're talking about commercials, commercial investment. You're talking about facilities where they want to play the games, to where they'll say, okay, Houston Rockets, you got to make a decision as to whether you want to get that Big Three money or this NBA money.
NBA money. Because they using NBA arenas, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So they say that the forecast they expect for 2023 more than $32 billion in additional profits. That report came out in September. Now, what do you think about? They didn't have reports come out that say, as of right now, they have indicated that Big Three players get about $10,000 per game, plus additional bonuses based on team performance, which means they can reach up to like $10,000 or $100,000 in salary in a single season. So right now, it seems like even though they got the huge accumulation of revenue, they still don't have, the resources to, I guess, pay the players. But I guess if you had better players, because your boy from Boston, I think he played. Wasn't there some conflict? Brown. He played in a Big Three in a game.
Now if that is happening, and then the NBA is going to have a problem. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a problem with it. They're going to start cutting revenues, and so that I would say that Cube would need to tread lightly when it comes to using active players.
Right.
Because although they're saying that they're not using it as a farm league, they've taken players that were ex-players. These is future Hall of Famers. Right. These is people that's woven into the fabric of the NBA. You can't detach them no more. These is cats that's in the Hall of Fame and all of that.
Got Joe Johnson.
They're pulling some of these cats up. They say it's been like 10 different people that have been pulled up into the NBA as assistant coaches and stuff like that. So yeah, they have some use for them. I think they're just trying to cut the legs off from under them. They don't want the competition. They don't want to share the revenue.
Like that CBA deal.
Just like the CBA deal did.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's a good distraction because you'll look at, when I first seen the in-season tournament, I thought I was looking at the Big Three.
Right.
How they had the real super colorful courts.
Exactly.
The loud music, this, that, and the other. Everything just looked like a Big Three type event. When I said, man, this is it. Okay, in-season. Commercial came in the in-season tournament. I'm like, man, what is this? This looks like the Big Three.
Well, I thought that too.
Now, they say the Big Three, not only was the NBA following they lead on that, but when it came to mental health, now you see the NBA over the last couple of years getting into the mental health of players and commercials and partnering with different companies as it relates to dealing with recognizing the need for mental health for the players. Big Three started out doing that.
Wow.
So the NBA took that. We're gonna take that. It's almost like the dude that started the moonwalk. Okay, you started the moonwalk, but you ain't famous. Mike took it
and made it famous.
So now Michael Jackson is the moonwalk. You know what I'm saying? But this cat right here that nobody know, we got tape of him doing the moonwalk 10 years before Mike even thought of it. Okay, so that's the thing. Like the CBD use.
Right.
Instead of opioids.
Right.
Big Three started that.
Big Three.
And partnering with the CBD companies, the legalized marijuana and stuff like that to help players deal with their pain.
Wow.
Whereas in the league, they were still real strict on that.
Real strict,
but now you're starting to see that the NBA is starting to come over.
Yep.
They starting to come over. So the way that the teams are drafted in the Big Three, the NBA borrowed that for the All-Star, for the All-Star game and the All-Star draft.
Wow.
Instead of just doing it East versus West,
right.
They went to the draft, literally stealing the idea.
Right.
Michael Jackson, man.
Ooh.
Michael Jackson.
So the Big Three been making some noise, and they grabbing the attention of the NBA.
And they want to get rid of them before they get too big.
Yeah.
To me, it just seems that way. Now, the whole piece on the soccer thing.
That's something to think about. That's a big.
Can't ignore that.
Yeah, that was an excellent point.
Excellent point. That was big. I'm just trying to see. I don't know. The NBA, they seem pretty shrewd.
But what was your take on this in-season tournament, though? You kind of danced around that. You lightweight dodging that one.
No, I ain't dodging it. I'm not respecting it. Nobody respects that in-season tournament, man. No. You're not going to add that to the accolades. You're not going to add that to the accolades of, because now you're getting gimmicky. Because this is the thing, man. You got a situation, and we're gonna go ahead and get through this conversation. I'm gonna go ahead and we ain't even gonna break. You know what I'm saying? I'll just go ahead and give Upper Room Apparel.
Smoke in that barbershop behind that, right?
Listen, man. It's like I just can't really respect It's not something that, like when you look at, just because you can have a better record than somebody in the in-season tournament and they advance and you don't. You got to win by a certain amount of points.
Right.
So you won the most games by the most amount of points. This team won 3 games, you won 4. But they won their games by a total of 72 points, and you won your game by so they advanced. I'm not trying to. That's too gimmicky, man. I'm not trying to do that.
That's how it works in soccer cup. It's group play.
I'm not trying to do that.
See,
if you're going to do that, and then at least let people know what you're doing, so that you can have something to gauge it by. But as a basketball player, as a great, as one of the GOATs, as like when you go to, see, this is the thing. Sports, they all have levels. You got guys who was great in high school, but they never made it to college. You got guys that made it to college, but they didn't start. Then you got guys who started, but they didn't make the conference team. It's levels all the way up. Well, once you get to the league, it don't stop.
right.
Once you get to the league, now you got to the league, but you never made the All-Star team. You made the All-Star team, but you first team
Right.
All-NBA. These guys are second team All-NBA.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a little separation. Then you get to where, okay, you had a great enough career, you gonna go to the Hall of Fame. He gonna go to the Hall of Fame too. But he was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
First ballot.
He got in on the first opportunity of eligibility. Boom, they put him in.
Right.
He has higher rank than somebody who was a second team
Right.
inductee or a second year
Right.
nominated. Boom, he got in, second ballot. Okay, so that's, to me, is one of those things that it continues to give the players rank to where the fans know how to gauge the
Right.
level of importance. So if you go to the All-Star weekend and there's one table sitting in the center of the room, that one table is going to have a certain caliber player sitting at that table. Mike is going to be at that table. Brian going to be at that table, right? Kobe going to be at that table. Olajuwon going to be at that table. Tim Duncan going to be at that table. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar going to be at that table. Ideally, that it's only so many chairs at that table.
So many chairs at that table.
Okay, so now once you get at that table, then we can have the conversation with them to determine who's the best out of those 6.
Right.
But you can't add no new stuff, no new equations to the conversation and start making up, okay, who scored the most points while wearing black socks? Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that. Don't add that into the mix. We got the rules.
Who won the cup?
Nobody cares about that.
Nobody else played for the cup.
Nobody cares about that.
It don't count.
It's people that are using it in their argument, and I'll ask them, okay, explain to me how that whole cup thing works.
Yeah.
They ain't saying nothing about what he's talking about as far as the soccer and the cup. See, that makes sense. I understand that. In a dynamic where you're trying to just, do something for entertainment's sake to make it more interesting, and you're trying to appeal to the audience that you're not even the audience that they're trying to appeal to.
Right.
They trying to appeal to an overseas market, people that understand soccer.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to them
Yeah.
because they already have a measuring stick for using those little points to determine who's valuable and who's not.
Right,
they already are, but that's not how we make those decisions. So we're gonna keep an eye on that though. Keep an eye on the big 3. Keep an eye on the in-season tournament. Although I'm not really,
Yeah, I'm cool on the
I'm cool on
tournament.
I'm cool on the in-season tournament.
Think you'll feel that way 10 years from now?
Yeah. I know I will.
This is the thing. It's not like that is something that disqualifies Brian in my eyes as being the GOAT. I just don't need it. I'm just waiting for Brian to stop playing. If I ask myself the question, who's the greatest player ever in the history of the game, the greatest all-around player, to me, that's an easy conversation, LeBron James. So, but right now it's like looking in the oven, watching the cake bake, and, you talking about how good the cake, you don't really know how good the cake is. You got to wait till it get done. So all we doing is waiting for Bron to get done baking. He's already got it locked in. That's why we put Kobe up in the barbershop, so he can get some shelf time before Bron retires. You know what I'm saying? Because we know when Bron retired, it's over with. He's going up on the wall, right? So it's not a thing that we're using that to say, that's not going to give Bron enough of what he need because we're canceling out the in-season tournament. What we're saying is Bron don't need no in-season tournament. We don't even understand what that means. We don't even understand what that means. So we don't need it. That's for the younger cats that understand it. They come along, they'll add that to their equation. They'll have them conversations, and they'll be measuring him against other cats who also play in-season tournaments. So speaking of Bron, GOAT conversation, we just had it, I guess.
I mean, you did. You did.
You got a problem? You got a problem? How do you feel it? You see it? Are you in no way convinced? We didn't watch this season. We almost at All-Star break. You ain't seen nothing that would convince you as different from what you felt before the season started?
No. What I see right now is that basically, I don't, like right now I'm kind of steering away from the GOAT on crowning the GOAT in terms of basketball. Because basically I find it very complicated and hard to do because we're watching an era. And I think right now we are coming to the close of the LeBron James era. Now I got LeBron listed as a top 5 all-time great. Okay. And I can go with top 5, top 10. I can kind of move inside that But why
bracket. Even mention top 5 like he could be 4 or 5? You don't.
I mean, that. I don't want to, number them 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5. I'm kind of going away from all of that. I feel like LeBron James gonna go down as one of the greatest players of all time. I do agree with you that he will be the greatest all-around player to ever play the game. I think there's other levels where you got the greatest scorers, you got the, and you got various different things, accolades, you got championships, you got stuff like that. But I think based on what I'm watching right now in this NBA is weak. It's very weak. It's probably about the softest NBA that I've never seen in my life. Now,
you got to explain
if we go by, it's a different game now. It's more skill. It's more offensive led, just like NFL. You got all offense. The emphasis is on offense, and the emphasis is on scoring.
But that don't mean that a person can score. You still got to be able to put the ball in the bucket.
Yeah, but I mean, if you
because that's what the focus is, don't mean that everybody can do it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've got the rules and everything geared towards scoring, then people that's gonna lead with statistics, you're gonna have more stats. Just like with quarterbacks.
But that don't mean that them stats are gonna be good.
Yeah, but wait, you're gonna have quarterbacks that throw for 100,000 yards. And that don't mean if I take that same quarterback and I put him back in an era where you wasn't throwing the ball 40 times a game, we probably wouldn't even know that cat's name.
Just because you're throwing the ball 40 times don't mean that you're completing passes. You a Dallas Cowboy fan. You should know that with your boy Dak Prescott. You should know that. So this is the thing. It gives people a greater opportunity to succeed, but it also gives them a greater opportunity to fail. This is where the cream of the crop. This is where the cream of the crop starts to rise to the top. Just because Bron is taking more shots, just because Steph is taking more shots, percentage matters. If you're taking more shots and you're still shooting 38, 39% from the field, yeah, you got more numbers. Though. Look, man, it's up to you. Because it's contested based on how you defend me.
Yeah.
Because you can step out here, but I might blow past you. You might not want me to blow past you. So you give me a little room, I'm going to light you up from out here.
The lane wide open, man. The lane wide open.
What you mean the lane wide open?
Ain't nobody in the lane, man. Ain't a shot blocker in sight. You're not even allowed to play defense. I saw the referee in the interview when he said that he got the letter from the league. They told him,
Look, man.
we're going to review these plays. If you see this play right here, you call foul.
Look, the thing is,
We want scoring.
you can play a zone defense now. You couldn't play a zone defense back then.
Yeah, zone.
You can
shoot.
literally, no, but that's what I'm saying. You encouraging shooting, but that's because you encouraging shooting don't mean that people is going to make those shots. But the fact that you can play a zone defense, that's clogging the middle up. It's making it to where you want to multiply points at a higher rate. I understand, but you still got to find qualified people who can get that done.
Dak Prescott got better numbers than Peyton Manning right now.
Who is Peyton Manning? Just because Peyton Manning was popular, Peyton, that was one of the chokingest cats in the game.
Dak Prescott might throw for more yards than Tom Brady.
Hey, look, put him in a category with Dan Marino. Put him in a category with Dan Marino. You got the numbers. No rings. No rings.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not taking Dak Prescott over Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, or Tom. No, I'm not taking him over none of them.
Yes,
But I'm saying the league and the era, the time that he play in, these cats out here that just want to compare numbers and stats, you got to get at some consideration. The numbers will look better, the stats will look better, but I'm not using that to gauge who the GOAT and the greatest players are.
I get that, and I kind of sense though that you finding a way to get away from that, determining who the one is because you see your boy Brian getting closer. You really don't want to have to admit.
I'm looking at LeBron James. I'm looking at his career, his body of work.
Right.
We have never seen a player play this long and put up numbers the way that he putting up numbers. We haven't.
Still relevant.
We haven't.
Because we've seen Kareem. Kareem, he retired 3 times.
Yeah, but he played in a league where he was getting beat to death. They bodies wasn't gonna make it to where LeBron's body is. LeBron is untouched. His body ain't took on he ain't endured the type of punishment and the type of league that Kareem and Mike and these guys, cope. These dudes, they endured a different kind of NBA, man.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to go out there and still drive to the lane if you spending 10 years not getting
hits.
hit.
No, you taking hits. Brian is taking hits.
Brian ain't getting
He's just
hit.
absorbing them. Brian is just absorbing them. Brian, he does the same thing at the guard position in the forward position that Shaq was getting done to him at the center position. The refs ain't even calling the fouls because they like, you so big, we ain't even gonna call that foul because
fouls?
if they put Brian on the line every time he got fouled, the game would be 4 hours long.
Come on, man, stop.
The game would be 4 hours long. Brian gets fouled and knocked around all the time. That's why he started acting and flopping. Because he was like, okay, if I got to exaggerate it to get the call, y'all knocking me all over the place. I got scars all on me. I'm lightweight bleeding over here.
Nah, man.
Yeah, that's the deal, man.
Brian know they gonna call that foul. He know that the NBA the referees have received letters. Just like those refs been coming out in these interviews telling you they received letters for Kobe. They received them for Michael. Call the foul.
Look, man.
You ain't allowed to touch them.
Nah, I don't see that, man. Because it's only so much that you're going to be able to get away with them guys, but you can't tell me that them guys wasn't getting hit. Especially, and I understand Mike. Mike was getting away with a lot. Kobe was playing against 3 people every night. Brian is out there taking some hits, man. It's just that he's so big, he's running through the hits. He's getting through the hits. They hitting him though. He's taking some hits. And that's why he start, I'm guarantee you, man, that's why he start flopping.
He taking 90, he taking early 2000, 1990 hits.
Man, look, it was probably about 4 teams in the league that was real physical like that. The rest of them cats, they wasn't physical. You can play against the San Antonio Spurs back then. Them cats wasn't physical. You could play against the the Phoenix Suns back then, them cats wasn't physical. You can play against the Sacramento Kings, them cats wasn't physical. You had about 4 or 5 teams that, and really, they wasn't even physical like that with each other. The bad boys made it famous, but them cats wasn't physical with each other like that, man. I think it's all hype.
Okay.
It helps people not admit that the game didn't evolve. The game didn't evolve, and it didn't devolve, it's evolved. These cats is better. These cats, a lot of them cats back then, they couldn't play. You get Kariem out there guarding your boy, the Joker, he's barbecue chicken.
Yeah, go ahead.
Barbecue chicken.
And Joker could guard Kariem? No.
Look.
No.
But if the Joker held Kariem to 22, 25 points, they're gonna lose.
You put Joker out there and you put these rules back, Joker gonna look like, and I put Shaq in there, he gonna look like Sabonis did when Shaq got a hold of him.
Look.
And I guarantee you,
Who used to
if they let him, they're not gonna be calling no dislodging, no position.
I get what you're saying, but I'm right here in Cleveland. And I used to watch every time that Shaq used to come to Cleveland. Your boy Z used to murder him. Nobody want to talk about that. Z owned Shaq. And it's because he would take Shaq, pull him out, and that water would get deep out there. Once he got out there, he would pick and pop. Brian come out there, give him the little give and go, kick back out to Z. Z pop out into that wing, pow.
What
done.
Shaq is you talking about?
Yeah, he used to
The
always.
Miami Shaq? I mean the Boston Shaq?
No,
The Phoenix Suns Shaq?
no,
Not the 3-time champion Lakers Shaq?
yes.
Nah.
I'm saying anytime he played against Sabonis, anytime he played against cats like Zilgauskas, anybody that could pull him out of that paint, he was done. And if you couldn't come out of the paint, you sure ain't going out onto the 3-point line. Mm-hmm. Your boy, the Joker, will pull these cats out there so far that they'll get lost out there.
It's over with, huh?
Can't move out there.
What about down the other end, though? He gonna go down in the post and D up and stop Shaq?
First of all, you lightweight, unless you Hakeem Olajuwon, you lightweight gonna be winded. Shaq ain't running the floor with. The Joker is getting rebounds. Shaq do it during the All-Star game. The Joker is doing it during the regular season game 5, 6, 7 times a game, getting the rebound, running the floor, man. All right. Point guard type stuff.
Okay.
He passing. He like Tim Duncan
No.
in the post.
Joker
Kicking
a bad
out.
boy.
Yeah.
But man, you tossing his name around, man. Come on, man. Joker need to win some more titles. Before you start tossing Joker's name around, before he toss Joker's name around with the likes of Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, Joker gonna need to build on his body of work.
Hey, listen, man. He's already
some
better
titles.
offensively than Shaq was. He's just as bad defensively as Shaq was. Shaq never made first team all defense, right? Never, not one time.
Joker made any team all defense?
No, that's why I said he's just as bad as Shaq was.
I go back.
But he's
Shaq
better
used to average about
offensively.
2 or 3 blocks a game.
Come on, man.
Joker ain't even getting one.
Come on. Well, hey, that's a whole conversation, man. That's a whole conversation. Let's try to finish this thing up in about the next 10 minutes, man. We got your boy Prime, Coach Prime, 2024, Coach Prime. What's up?
Hey, man, Prime done fell off as far as...
Sports Illustrated Man of the Year?
No, I mean, Prime got all the accolades. He's getting all the camera. He's getting all the news. We get that.
Okay. What
I
you
got
mean he
that.
fell off?
But I'm saying,
help me out.
Prime started off the year talking about, I'm coming, we coming. Prime was the loudest thing in the room at the beginning of the year.
Right.
We fast forward. We didn't expect them to go out there and dominate the conference. We didn't expect them to be national champions.
Right.
But respectfully, we respect his body of work and what he's doing. You know, how he involved in the lives of these kids at the University of Colorado. But Prime out there on Saturday getting smoked. Colorado getting beat down every week. Like, you know, it's we got all the hype, we got all the storyline.
Right.
But in all actuality, let's be real and let's be honest. We all follow sports our whole life. It ain't nothing spectacular about that record that they got right now.
Let me ask you this. It's nothing spectacular, and I'm gonna come back to this because I do believe that has a lot to do with things that's kind of that primed and created a scenario for itself that is not serving him. That he had more confidence in the guys that he had with him, but I think that can be remedied with transfer portal and that type of thing. And it's cats that's coming in the portal this year.
Right.
You know, he got the #1 ranking portal
Yep.
in the whole country.
Right.
Offensive linemen,
Right.
top in the country, got him coming. But this is the question that I got for you. I think it was 2019, 2020, Prime was trying to get the job out at Florida State. They didn't give it to him, so he went to
Right.
Jackson State. Some cats that were supposed to go to Florida State transferred to Jackson State, followed him to Jackson State.
Right.
But no, not a lot of people did.
Okay.
Florida State, after saying that they didn't want Dion as a coach, went from winning 3 games
To number 3, number 4 team in the country.
undefeated.
Yeah.
Damn near, what'd they lose? 1 game?
Yeah. Got robbed for the little playoffs.
Do they do that if Prime would have went there as the coach? Do they make that type of, you talking about a leap from 2021 to 2022 to 2023, you don't even look like the same team. Do they make them leaps and become as good of a team as they are with Prime as the coach if he had been offered the job back then?
It's possible that they don't. We don't know for sure. Because we don't even know how well we don't know how good of a head football coach Prime is in the top 25 in Power 5 schools. We don't know. We got all the hype. We following the hype, and it's prime time. We riding that wave. But it's possible that the coach at Florida State is a better head coach, is a better football coach than Prime. It's possible that he got a better system. It's possible that he got more coachable players. If Prime would have drug his son and his system down to Florida State, it's possible they wouldn't have had the success that they got right now.
Interesting thing, man. That's an interesting take because I kind of feel that when I say he created a situation that's kind of, he kind of laid a bed that it ain't really comfortable right now. Because I remember watching an interview when he was being interviewed by Shannon Sharp on Shannon Sharp's podcast. And one of the things Shannon Sharp was asking him, when y'all went to the championship, the HBCU championship 2 years in a row, what was it? What was the problem? How come y'all couldn't win the big game? And his response was, they lacked discipline. They lacked discipline and they wasn't ready for the moment. Now, fast forward and you watching these same guys, some of them transferred out of there and went with him. I'm looking at the team in Colorado. The problem with that team as I'm watching them over the course of the year, same problem. They lack discipline. I'm watching these cats holler back, yapping back at Prime.
Right.
I'm like, wait a second, man.
Right.
You getting burnt for touchdowns, 2 plays back to back. You play in a position that I got a gold jacket play in that position. And I'm telling you what to do.
And you yapping
and you
back.
cussing me out. Lack of discipline.
And usually when you see lack of discipline in football on the highest level, NFL, it's usually associated. You watch the game, they'll let you know, they lead in penalties. Well, that's discipline. That falls back on the head coach. Nobody but the head coach.
Wow.
if it's followed him from Jackson State to Colorado,
consistent.
He's
the common denominator.
Yeah.
And like I seen one game where his son made a huge play down the stretch, huge play, and they called him for targeting. But at the same time, one referee is calling for targeting, the other referee is calling from unsportsmanlike conduct because he turns and looks at the crowd and he's screaming at the crowd.
That.
I'm like, wow, if you had not done that, they might have given you the benefit of the doubt because it was a 50-50 call. They could have called and said that he targeted him, but it was so close to where you could have called it the other way. But they could have let him go. But since you're doing all this over here, now I want to get you out the game.
And what happened when he went to the sideline?
Deion put his arm around him and started loving on him.
Yeah.
First of all, that's church terminology.
Yeah.
That don't belong on the football
field.
I don't need no coach loving on me. I just don't. We just gonna leave that right there.
Yeah.
Next on the list, your boy P. Diddy.
Hey man, your boy P. Diddy.
Stick a fork in him.
I don't know about stick a fork in him because I don't know if they for sure about saying that this thing is criminal. Right now they got allegations.
It's all civil.
Yeah, he accused by Cassie of, rape and years of abuse. She got a lawsuit. I think they was talking about to the tune of $30 million.
That's what she was asking for. So
That's
they
what
settled,
she was asking.
which probably was probably less than that because they settled. He wouldn't pay the 30, so they settled for something else. So it's anywhere between I think 12 and 30, somewhere in there.
Is it about the money?
Of course, always about the money.
It's always about the money. But will it stop if the money if he pays her? Will that stop the criminal suit? I think, or the push for him to be.
I don't know.
Charged.
I don't know. It depends on if the state of New York picks it up. Right now, New York is busy. They got your boy 45. They busy with him, so he might get lucky. But it seems to me like it's about 10 different people. They kind of extended the statute of limitations just so that these people could file.
Yeah.
And most of these suits came within the week of that extension deadline.
Yeah.
So it's a purpose. I don't know what the motivation is for it, but it's intentional as to why all of these suits came in for all of these different people all in the same time. You had the mayor of New York,
Cuomo.
Got your boy Cuomo, they got your boy Russ, they got Puffy,
Russ.
They got your boy Aaron Hall,
Jamie
Foxx. It's a lot of these cats that fell up under that deadline.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough, probably for all of them, because people are kind of painting them all with one wide paintbrush.
Yeah.
They all getting swooped into the same thing. So
we'll see how that's gonna play out.
yeah. Last, real quick, if we can get this back in. What's up with your boy? Data presented to Akron School Board, right?
Right.
It's your boy King James School.
I Promise
School. They really giving it a bad rap, and I don't think that they telling the whole story.
They're not telling the whole story because the numbers and the test scores that they using, they basically done cast it up on a group that everybody that knows the mission of that school,
right?
We already knew that there wasn't going to be high test scores and great academic accolades coming out of that school. He's taking on already a troubled group of kids. They got different various backgrounds. This school is at the beginning of years and years of work as to what he the effects that he gonna have on the community. Yeah. So they prejudging it.
Well, they not telling the whole story.
No.
Because and I think it was a study that motivated that whole idea. It was a study that said that you can take math and reading scores of third grade males and just about predict what the prison population was going to look like in that 20 years from there. Those grades and testing scores at that age was almost like the like you have on a train tracks where you got the thing that switch it from one side to the other. That was the pendulum
Right.
that determined what type of life those cats was going to have based on what they was doing in the 3rd grade. So what Brian decided to do was say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to find kids, particularly who are behind
Right.
in that 3rd grade scale.
Right.
And what we're going to do is put together a process in order to be able to bring them back up to speed.
Right.
So the fact that they're at that school in the first place is because their scores are not low. They're low.
Right.
So to have a study to come out and say everybody in the school is below
Right.
the scoring level, to me, what are you talking about?
We already know that's where they were at.
Everybody knows that, except for the people who, because I hear people talking about it and they tell you that, man, LeBron, you know what I'm saying, that school is garbage. Nah, it's not really. It's like we taking little bits
Right.
of the story that they feeding us,
Right.
and we're not motivated to go out and get the whole story.
Right.
And so I say, your boy down there, school board,
The
president,
Hall.
yeah, he got to do better. He should know.
He mad about the money. That's what he's mad about.
Yeah,
The funding and the money.
the funding and the money
Brian
and the
should
credit.
definitely- and the credit, yeah.
Yeah,
Brian
They-
should get credit. He should be commended for trying to reroute that statistic with the prison in the 3rd grade. That's a big mission, man.
Yeah, smaller class sizes,
Yeah.
wraparound services. That curriculum that they got a hell of a STEM. STEM is what they kind of wanted to make it into a STEM school. So it's functioning on the STEM curriculum, extended school day, extended school year, emphasis on students taking responsibility for homework, paying attention to teachers, and being respectful. You know, you asking a lot
You're
to be
asking a
this
lot.
critical this early in the game.
Right.
So we'll see. But hey, man, that's it. We're going to go ahead and stick a fork in 2023.
2023.
Appreciate all y'all support this year for the spot. We try to pick this thing up. Big things happening in 2024. We want to bring you more content and get this thing going the way that we know that it can do. Hopefully get some more special guests. We're going to focus a little bit more, I think, in 2024 on special guests. So if y'all have anybody that y'all want to see, maybe we can reach out to them, shoot us some information in the comments of people that y'all think might be a good interview, and we'll see about getting them on, getting them hanging up the spot. So that's it. Nothing else?
Nothing else for me.
Peace.
Peace.